Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and this man had many, many great quotations that were attributed to him, and here is one of them. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Think about that. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by, I need a patriot to call this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. Oh, pride in this country. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kate Smith. And good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for whatever the road throws at you. You stop in and see them today. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with some of our great advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line, have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
You're the man.
Yes, I thought I'd do the pledge this morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wheels. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And the weather, it's a little windy out there, man. I'll tell you, and wet. Wow. We're getting a January thaw, right? Weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. Roger and the crew get there early in the morning at 7 a.m., throw the doors open and say, come on in. We've got the best of tools and equipment for whatever project you need to finish. And if you're not sure what you need, call them. Give them a jingle, 678-3122. They will help you at K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gino with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Martin Luther King Day Monday, and we are expecting a 40% chance of snow showers. Mostly cloudy skies, plus it's going to be windy out there. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, hopefully everything will be calming down. Partly cloudy skies. Going to get cold, only a low of 19. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 32. Mostly cloudy and 26 for Thursday night. Then by Wednesday, another slight chance of snow showers. Winds are going to be picking up again, and we are expecting a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And Gina always does a great job. Thank you very much. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. You better believe it. They've got everything from heaters to keep things from freezing up in this cold winter time, or, the log splitters, everything. Please, for whatever you're doing, give them a call. Find out more, 678-3122. K&R Rental in Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Wow, good morning to you and your family, and thank you for tuning in today. We've got a lot, and I mean a lot of great people that are going to be on the program. Richard Manning from Washington, D.C., Tom Harris is one of the sharpest scientists debunking the idiocy of so-called climate change. And speaking of that, and I'm just going to say this right at this juncture, I am going to do my best to next Monday try to get our new Governor Brad Little on the phone and talk to him about some of his statements that he made regarding climate change. And then I'm also going to have Al Luciano from Las Vegas coming on the program, talking about guns and the border, etc. And then at 10:32 this morning, Idaho Legislative Update with our dear friend, Representative Fred Wood. So all of that coming up on the program this morning. Don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, my, they get there early in the morning and they throw the door open and they start serving you with the best of cleaning your clothes. That's right, dry cleaning. And they'll even do your wash. I told you that quite a few times in December and January. But they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all the clothes that you needed washed. So stop in and see them today. Tell them what you need, and they'll handle it for you. They've been doing my sports jackets and shirts and jeans for a long time. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion and Burley. Simply put, they are the best. Okay. I want to remind you that Lunch Bunch is coming up this week. As a matter of fact, we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. And don't forget Lunch Bunch at 11:30 on Thursday. Now, we are really expecting to have a good turnout this week, or this month, I should say, on this Thursday. So please get there early, and we'll be ready to rock and roll at 11:30. And that's, of course, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And they have another location serving you at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. It's true, it's America's Diner with the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time. And we also want to thank Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's for all the gift certificate giveaways. Don't miss it on Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. From the Yummy Man, the senior menu for today at the Senior Center on South Overland is oven baked chicken, mashed taters, gravy, squash, green salad, and yummy dessert. And for $5, you get all you can eat. Anybody, young and old, come on out between 12 and 1 and have a lunch.
Joe, I got to ask you, are you a squash lover?
Yes.
I am not. Well, I'll tell you what, you enjoy your squash and your yummy dessert. Sounds like a good menu, and thank you for calling in this morning.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Oh, don't forget, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric for all, and that's not brag, that's a fact, all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Over 6 decades. 6 decades. Think about that. Long time of serving you and your family, your businesses at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. They are the best, providing warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. I heard a little bit about this story, and I am so glad that I had a chance to sit back and observe and listen and find out the truth. And the truth is that the jaded, left-leaning media, comprised of quite a group of liars, frauds, and charlatans, tried to paint the picture of the story the wrong and the lying way. There was a group of students from Covington, Kentucky High School that were visiting Washington, D.C., and they were at the Lincoln Monument. And some of which were wearing the Make America Great Again caps. Well, a confrontation developed between some of an American Indian tribe And the truth is, the boys, the teenagers, did nothing wrong. They did not taunt. They did not try to escalate a problem. They didn't do anything wrong. One student in particular stood his ground as one Indian went up with a drum and beat it right in his face. And this young man did nothing. He did nothing except smile, and he let this Indian just absolutely make a fool out of himself. The teens were confronted by this group. They were called absolutely filthy names, and initially, this is the point I'm trying to get at here. Initially, the left-leaning media made it look like, sound like, and act like it was the teens from Covington, Kentucky that had started this problem and escalated it. It was quite the opposite. Because some of them were wearing Make America Great Again caps, the media went after these kids like sharks. One teenager stood his ground. And I really, really respect this young man. But the media is going after him and his family, and they're trying to run him completely into the mud. The left blamed the teens for the taunting. The video shows completely that this is a lie. But CNN and MSNBC quickly came out and said the teens with the MAGA hats were poisoning America. Poisoning America. And one very dumb Democrat came out immediately, without knowing the truth, and said that he's going to introduce legislation that said wearing a MAGA hat would be banned. Really? Really? Make America Great Again cap, because it was affiliated with Donald Trump's presidency, would be banned? This not real bright Democrat introducing legislation saying that we are going to ban any and all MAGA hats to be worn in public. I dare him to try. Now, I made up some for my business. And I sold them to a lot of the lunch bunchers and others. I would like to meet the Democrat that would come up and say I can't wear that cap. There's nothing on there that's insightful. There is nothing on those caps, especially the Make America Great Again caps, that is going to cause a problem or acts in a sleazy manner. Nothing. And besides that, Make America Great Again is absolutely a great statement. And these kids absolutely were dragged through the keyhole of a media that are liars and charlatans and frauds, and I feel sorry for them. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Indian chief, if you will, in just a moment. I'm going to do this good word, and your calls are welcome. Don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they are good. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists there can help you with all the aches and the pains and the recouping from a surgery or trying to get the better effects of after an accident or whatever. Please let them help you. All you have to do is give them a call, make an appointment at 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. The exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, it's all there for you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. You stop in and see those really good folks today. Give them a call today. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget tomorrow at 9:46, we'll have the Stoats Equipment Ag Minute with our dear friend Vic over at Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. That's at 9:46 tomorrow morning. This Indian chief or whatever, medicine man, whatever, I found out that Nathan Phillips is his name. He was the Native American elder who approached the boys, instigating the initial confrontation. And guess what? Oh, gee, imagine. He's reportedly had a history of similar confrontations. And he, in the video, is shown approaching the boys, beating that drum right in this one boy's face. And the boy never backed up. The boy never weakened. The boy never moved to assault the man or anything else. He just stood there with a smile on his face and let this man, Nathan Phillips, make a fool out of himself. But the media, the New York Times had a story, and listen to this, what they put in the New York Times. The New York Times published an article titled, "Boys in Make America Great Again hats mob Native American elder at Indigenous Peoples March in D.C." Mob a Native American elder? It was quite the opposite. These boys were doing nothing wrong until this confrontation started, and was started by the Indians themselves. Calls are welcome. I'd like to have you talk about that because, quite frankly, we're living in an age right now, and I heard some others talking about this morning, about the falsification or the complete making up of news or twisting of the news to make anyone on the right, you and I and other conservatives, absolutely look bad. Well, it's backfiring. And the truth coming to the top. What are your thoughts? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll do this commercial, and then you will call. That's a good exchange, please. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Wow, do they take care of your pets and your animals. You know, it's not cost effective. Like if you got a herd of dairy cattle or whatever the case might be, make sure they're all healthy. And if you got little puppy dogs, kitty cats, whatever the case might be, you don't want sick animals running around. You've got to make sure they are A-OK. Well, it's a mixed animal practice, and they are the best at what they do. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew, and they are serving your animals. So please get a hold of them today. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. All right, your turn. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about that? I mean, initially the news media, and I've got story after story here, and different tweets and emails and everything else about how so many people were wrong. Absolutely dead wrong in what happened over this news story. And they had to come back and eat crow. A lot of people we know in the media, from CNN, MSNBC, even Fox, Meghan McCain even. And all these remarks are saying, gee, I wished I would have checked it out a little further before I started denigrating and damning these young men, because they, the teenagers, did nothing wrong. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I just want you to know that anytime I see anything that's really hyped up by the media, I just bounce over it. I saw that picture of that Indian and them boys, and I didn't even read it. I knew that it was a lie. I'm just gone to the point that anything the media says is a big lie.
Well,
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I appreciate your call, and a lot of people are feeling that way. I'm feeling that way if I don't really do my own detective work and check out the stories myself, of which I do. Thanks to my lovely bride this morning. On this story alone, we pulled off like close to 30 pages of information about what really, really happened with this confrontation. And I think it's disgusting that the left, especially the Democrats and CNN and MSNBC, well, why, these young people are poisoning America. Why, one dim Democrat said, well, we've got to introduce a bill to make sure those hats are banned. Really? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, so just turn this thing on. This incident happened in Washington, D.C.?
At the Lincoln Monument.
Yeah, where were the police when this was going on?
You know, don't ask me that, because in many instances, Tony, I don't know. Sometimes they shy away, stay away, etc., as was the case with many issues that we've had over the last couple of years. The police are nowhere to be found. They'd rather let the marchers of both sides have a confrontation and then have their press conferences later. I think it's despicable. But these teenage boys, Tony, everything I've got in my hand said none of them did anything wrong.
Well, you know, Schumer and Pelosi, or the dementia gal, as you call her, is behind all this. They're not going to do a darn thing to stop what's going on, especially at the border, because they're getting power from these illegals that are coming across who are eventually going to be future Democratic voters.
Yeah.
And this thing's only going to get worse.
You know, let's talk about that just for a second. Since you were a teenager, since I was a teenager, there is an erasing of right and wrong in this country. And there's been a complete twisting of what is right and wrong by the left. And I'm really afraid, and I want to get your remark on this, when you have a Democratic congressman come out before knowing the facts and saying that every Make America Great Again cap should be banned, and CNN says that these caps and people that wear them are poisoning America, whoa, that sounds a little bit like Germany back in the late 30s to me.
You know, the only way that the Democratic Party is going to survive is they're acting like a bunch of communists right now. And they will do anything to gain power. And that they'll use it to destroy Donald Trump. And Schumer and Pelosi are doing whatever they can to make life miserable for Donald Trump, hoping that this guy will have a stroke or a heart attack, and they'll take over control of this country again.
Yeah.
This is what's behind it.
Yeah, and when I read about all the different people that want to throw their hats in the ring on the Democratic side to be president of the United States, another one that's extremely far left with her thoughts and her abilities, if you want to call them that, Kamala Harris of California, now one of the names on the list. Tony, I'm very concerned. I'm extremely concerned about what's going to happen for the next 2 years of the Trump presidency and whether there will be anything done or helped for us. I mean, honestly, I think the Democrats are going to hold everything at bay.
Well, this is an organized invasion of the United States, bringing all these troublemakers into this country.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm with you on this. I'm really concerned about happening, not for Mary and I, because our days are numbered, but just for the younger generation coming up.
Well, you know who, I don't care if you know who she is or not, because I don't think she's that good an actress anyway, but there's an actress by the name of Alyssa Milano, and she made and now the egg is all over her face, and I hope it dries on her face. Alyssa Milano said the red MAGA hat, Make America Great Again hat, is the new white hood. Without white boys being able to empathize with other people, humanity will continue to destroy itself. They really tore these teenagers up and spit them out, and they did nothing wrong. It's despicable what the left is doing.
Well, I know a little bit about Melissa, so you're absolutely right. She's a nutcase.
All right, I got to run, Tony. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Caller number 2, I tell you what, bear with me just a minute, because then I got to give away some cookies, too. But I'm going to do a commercial and then get you on the air and then give the cookies away, so stand by. Don't forget Dino Septic Service, and they are located over in the Rupert area, but they serve all the valley, and they recently expanded, increased the size of their business to better serve you with septic tank pumping, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, and septic inspections, liquid waste removal, all of this and more. And all you need to do is just make one simple phone call to 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, Dino Septic Service, with a big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I'll call back. Go ahead and give your cookie.
I tell you what, I really do want you to call back, too. I'm going to do that cookie giveaway, and right now the cookie giveaway is being sponsored by our friends at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a delicious bakery. Oh, what a delicious restaurant. Woo, the food is phenomenal. You better stop over and check it out today. Now, don't forget the cookies, the pies, the muffins, and the wedding cakes, everything from their bakery. Great. Now, here's the question for the day. And this is a little tougher one, a little bit tougher. It's not that tough. But if you know the answer, call over to Sophie's and let them know when you'll be in for your cookies. Here it is. This particular actor played numerous bad guy roles in the movies, with one bad, evil eye that seemed to go in different directions. Who was this actor? This actor played numerous bad guy roles in the movies with one bad, evil eye that had a tendency to fade off in a different direction. What was the actor's name? First person to call, 436-2244, wins the cookies. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
That's Jack Elam.
Who is this?
This is Brent Nicholas.
Brent, I'm going to tell you, that's pretty doggone good. How did you know that so fast?
I used to watch him all the time on old westerns.
Do you remember he used to be in almost every one of the Western movies as one of the bad guys, and he was a good character actor and everything, but that one eye, boy, when you looked at that one eye kind of going north while the rest of the eyes, the other eye was going east and west, it kind of really shook you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, go on in there and get your cookies, by golly. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Brent Nicholas is the winner. It was Jack Elam. And I don't know if Jack Elam is still alive or not. I believe he passed away, but great actor. And in real life, everybody said, what a very nice man. Very nice man. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk about the Women's March in just a moment. Two of them, one good and the other evil. So stand by for that. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness sakes, these are really, really good people. We had our good old buddy Juan on the program with us last week talking about everything that's going on over there. And they've got all the equipment you could possibly need over at Barry Equipment and Rental. Now, keep in mind, they've got three locations. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli, and the Nampa location. They get there early in the morning to serve you everything from excavators to stump grinders to, all the Bobcats and the Doosan heavy equipment. Wow. All of this and more serving you at Barry Equipment and Rental. Equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Yeah, that deal with the young men and that Indian, when you get right down to the the facts about it, he was trying to calm peace between some other people and those young men wearing those hats.
Yeah.
But the media is so great about taking just a little snippet of life and just showing how terrible people can be.
You know, I really want to ask you about this boy. This boy that stood his ground and absolutely didn't weaken as this Indian Nathan Phillips walked up to him, stuck the drum that he was beating in his face, literally, and the boy did not waver. The boy did not back up. The boy didn't do anything except just smile. I've got a lot of respect for that kid, and I'll tell you what, there are those that say, oh, he should have capitulated and turned around and walked away. No, he did nothing wrong. He stood his ground and let this man know that, no, you're not going to run over me.
Let's just hope and pray that young man becomes president of the United States one day.
It's a good thought.
Those are the people we need as leaders.
Well, I agree with you, but you know, the attacks on this young man, and it was a Catholic school trip, and some of the things that they have said about the school and about this young man, one, for instance, came from a Daniel Kim that said, the Make America Great Again boy attending Covington Catholic, a Christian school. Oh, the irony. And the list goes on. And some of the remarks that were made, I can't even read a portion of them on the air because they're so vile and filthy. That's what the left resorts to, is vile and filth, Doug.
Exactly. Vile, filth, lies, and their biggest word, or two words, is, if true.
Yeah. Did you see, I got to ask you this real quick before I run out of time, but did you see the differences in the marches last week for the Women's March that was about the right to life? And I had one of their people on my program last week. If you were listening, you heard her. Very nice lady. And they had really big numbers in support of their march. Then, a day later, the liberal sleaze Women's March that comes out with all the activists and everything else. Did you happen to hear some of the interviews when they sent a reporter into the crowd to interview some of these women? They had to bleep out most of the remarks because it was a blank, blank, bleep, bleep against Donald Trump.
Exactly. That was one point I was going to lead with. That was that on the two interviews, one, the youth were talking about Jesus and right to life and how all human beings have a right, and the other one was bleep, 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 bleep. So, I mean, what were they? The only thing they were doing is showing how they do not have a point to stand on, so they go right to the curse words and attack President Trump.
There was one frizzy-haired ditz that absolutely looked like she had the combined IQ of a gunny sack full of bowling balls, and she was interviewed, and every other word out of her mouth was the F word. Is that the kind of woman? Is that the kind of mother? Is that the kind of leader of a group that you need to put in front of the public?
No, but you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who could articulate their point without using a curse word in that group.
I want to go back quickly, and while you're on the air quick, and I invite other calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What about, and a lot of people kind of poo-poo this, but not me. I'm very concerned about this movement in this country if they regain power, they being the Democrats in full. That one Democratic congressman that said, well, I'm going to introduce legislation that says we're going to ban the wearing of all those Make America Great Again hats. Oh, really?
Well, you can tell you're getting to them when they want to legislate what you can wear and what you can do.
Yeah.
You know you're winning when they have to make laws to try to defeat you. And one thing I seen this morning, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but that little graph that come across on Fox News just for an instant, and then they faded out, and then they come back and apologized about it. It had a picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her birth year, and 2019 coming across, and then they, boom, went out, and they come back and apologized. They said, as far as we know, she is working from home.
You know, but there again, I do not care if it's MSNBC. I don't care if it's CNN. I don't care if it's some of the irresponsibleness that happens at CBS. I don't care where it is, or even Fox News. The media and journalism is by far subpar today as compared to 20 years ago.
Oh boy, we need another Howard Cosell. We need someone who will tell it like it is and let the American people make up their mind. The news media nowadays think the American people is not smart enough to understand when they tell us what happened. They have to explain it to us and tell us how to think about it.
Well, and then there's not any investigative reporting anymore. I mean, people really aren't putting forth an effort to get to the bottom of the news. When I was growing up, you listened to Cronkite and you listened to, what's the other group? The two guys, Huntley and Brinkley. The Huntley and Brinkley report every night. And the investigative journalism not going into their own personal whims or whams, but it was the facts.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And there's some news organizations out there like that One American News. I think they do pretty good at putting out the facts.
Yeah.
They do have some that, give their take on what they think about it. But we need a station, we need a newspaper in this country that will print the truth, print the facts, and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, as far as wearing a Make America Great Again cap, now please, somebody's got to help me on this. What in the world could possibly be construed as racist? And that's what the left is claiming about these boys wearing those caps. I won't tell you what they called these kids, but they said that wearing Make America Great Again caps was racist. Doug, now I'm an old man, but please try to tell me how a slogan, Make America Great Again, could possibly be racist.
It can't. They pull the race card, and they pull it so often that it has no meaning anymore. It does not. They do not use it what it really means. They use it to shut people up, to get people to step back, to not continue. But when you throw the facts at them, that's all they use.
That's exactly right, because they did that to me back in 2007. And very low-life Democratic Party right within the state of Idaho, they started the ball rolling against me, and they lost big time and went away with their tail between their legs because I didn't weaken, thanks to a very good friend of mine that convinced me that I should go on the attack and really go after them, and I did. And one of the guys, I got to tell you this really funny story, Doug. One of the people that was instigating me as a racist and really going after me, I finally, after all these years, I ran into him in a store in Twin Falls. And I've got to tell you, my first impulse was to turn around and bang. I just wanted to lower the boom on him. But he came up to me and, well, Zeb, how are you? And I said, I have no time. Thank you. Have a good day. And I walked away.
Yep. You were the bigger man. Yeah, and why Make America Great Again hat is so racist, but yet those pink knitted hats those gals wear and what it represents it isn't offensive.
Yeah. The whole world is turned upside down. We could get into it even more about Karen Pence and Christian schools and everything, of which I'm going to be going into quite a bit. And I want to just say something here. And if I stir up some of the ministers and preachers, etc., in the audience, that's the way it's going to be. This story about Karen Pence going back to a Christian school to teach art, and she needs to have people stand up all over across the United States for her and what she represents. My pastor at my church yesterday never said a word, and we have connected to our church a Christian school, which is the same type of problem per se that could happen here that's happening with Karen Pence. Nobody's speaking out and saying anything, and I find that totally wrong.
Yep, I do too.
All right, buddy, got to run.
Too.
Thank you. All right.
You bet. Hey, I want to tell everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them. And I read something the other day, the best classroom that you could ever attend is at the feet of an elderly person.
Oh, boy. That's good. I like that.
I love that. When I read that, it just sent chills right down the back of my neck.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, now that you and I are both elderly, look out for the kids. See you later.
You bet. God bless.
All right, our weather forecast brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and oh, are they busy serving you. Absolutely. I urge you, if you're having any kind of hearing problem or impairment or whatever that might be, call them. Make an appointment. Have a hearing screening. It doesn't hurt. It's kind of fun. And the number is 312-0957. The number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Martin Luther King Day Monday, and we are expecting a 40% chance of snow showers. Mostly cloudy skies, plus it's going to be windy out there. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, hopefully everything will be calming down. Partly cloudy skies. Going to get cold, only a low of 19. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 32. Mostly cloudy and 26 for Thursday night. Then by Wednesday, another slight chance of snow showers. Winds are going to be picking up again, and we are expecting a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7-3.
Oh, I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. You do a wonderful job putting our weather together, and we're very thankful to have Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids on the air, representing 3 doctors serving you, Dr. Christine Pickup, Courtney Mitchell, and Shane Hunsaker. Thank you very much. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Got time for some more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick, and then I'll do a commercial, and then we'll get into another story. The Super Bowl is set. I was 50% right. I said it was going to be the Rams versus the Chiefs, and it didn't work out that way. I've got to hand it to Tom Brady and the Patriots. As much as I hate to say this, it's like, oh, pulling a good tooth. Tom Brady absolutely brought the Patriots back, and they won that game over the Chiefs. And what more can you say? What more can you say? Both games went overtime. Anyway, Keller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness, Lorena and everybody else over there, Curtis, etc. Are you looking for a car stereo and speakers, complete sound systems? They've got it all. They've got all your TVs by Samsung, Sony, Toshiba. Oh, my goodness, the list goes on and on. Home theater systems. You can walk in your house, get a bag of popcorn, and just enjoy. All of this and more over at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they want to serve you. Please give them a call or stop in today, 678-6997. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, just a quick thought here. Bad news makes big money.
Yep.
Nobody wants to hear good news. So the Times News and the rest of them are making money dishing out bad news. Fox News is making money keeping this thing going. There's a problem there.
Well, sure.
Look at it.
Well, yeah, there's a problem, but I want to see some honest reporting. You know, okay, I'm patting myself on the back. Big deal. Get it mad, everybody. Zeb's bragging about himself. No, not really, but here's the situation. I'm not going to go on the air with any story, Tony, any story, unless I know it is 100% factual. Why can't the big boys and the big girls at the big networks do the same thing?
Money, 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 Zeb.
Well, if
you see all these high-paid guys on Fox Channel and all these other newspapers, you know these guys are making big business throwing out bad news. Good news doesn't sell.
Well, it's a crying shame because, well, honesty should sell. Regardless of the story, honesty should sell. That's the problem today, is that with the liberal media and the Democrats ready to jump and pounce like tigers or cats after a plate of milk, it's absolutely ridiculous. They should have honesty selling instead of all this. They're crazed when it comes to the news. They just want to jump on, and if anything's connected to Donald Trump or this administration, they want to condemn it and damn it right away, like these boys wearing MAGA hats. Make America great again. They want to go after these kids and destroy their lives. These kids did nothing wrong.
Well, as long as we keep getting people like Cortez infiltrating the Democratic Party, the problem's not going to stop.
I agree. Like I said, I'm just absolutely incensed against the media. They can't be honest, and I don't understand why. Tony, God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. You will probably find out that let's see, Deanne, we're not going to get any mail. I believe most of the banks are closed. It's one of those days where you're going to go to town and you're going to say to yourself, darn, I forgot. Well, there you have it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We talked a little bit about the pro-life women's march, and I was, like I said, blessed last week to have had a member of that Right to Life march on our program. We have had a member of that march in particular on our program for the last 5 or 6 years. But when you have the other side, the liberal left and their women's march where they're anti-this and they're anti-this and they're pro-Planned Parenthood, they're pro-abortion, they're pro-killing babies and everything. Somebody said to me, well, why don't you get one of those women on the air on your program? And I thought to myself, yeah, but I don't want to take a risk on a live talk show of not being able to edit their filth and their sleaze. I wasn't exaggerating earlier when I said that there was a reporter that went out in the midst of that march, and she interviewed a couple of the women that were pro-abortion and hated Trump, and oh my goodness. Every other word was something that we would have had to bleep out. I don't want those kind of people on my program. I don't want them anywhere near a microphone or a source of a story on my program. That just shows you how absolutely vile and detestable the left is, or at least it should. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I gotta share this with you real quick. The opinion page of the Times News yesterday, there again, no proofreading. They had a letter in the paper, and the letter was crisis at border or White House. And this particular person, I didn't agree at all with the things that he or she was putting in the letter. But at the bottom of the letter, it had more to go. And they said, please see letters on B3. Somebody forgot to put the rest of this letter so that we could see who wrote it and the final comment of this letter. There was no B3. And the Times News, once again, not proofreading their own newspaper. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Absolutely the best in tires for whatever the road throws at you. Snow, ice, muck, yuck, whatever it is. Man, they've got all the tires, all the sizes, all the different tread designs. Go in and tell them what you're looking for, and hey, can they help you out? Absolutely. And also the best in brake service, highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more from Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, great people, Daniel on Poline and Twin, and Randy, my buddy, on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in there and see them today. Well, I appreciate your phone calls this morning for the first hour, our open forum. Coming up this next hour, we've got Richard Manning, great guy. I mean, I just really enjoy having him on the air, and we're going to talk about the teens, and we're going to talk about Trump giving in, and the Democrats won't even listen. Then at 9:30, we're going to have Tom Harris on the program, excellent climatologist, and we're going to talk to him. Should be a lot of fun this next hour, so don't you go away. Zeb at the Ranch reminding you that Lunch Bunch will be this Thursday, this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's America's Diner. Don't you miss it. Here's the news. Oh, good morning on a windy, cloudy Monday. Look out, we might get some more snow today. And good morning to everybody. Brought to you by, I should say who I am, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for wintertime driving. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
So easy to get on the route service. All you have to do is call them at 734-6969 and say, hey, I need my garbage picked up, and they'll work you on the route service, and you can stand there and wave goodbye. It's gone. It's out of there. Thank you, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call again today. I'll say the number one more time, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. Oh, my goodness. This is a great, great business to help seniors stay at home. Stay at home, and maybe they might need a little help with daily tasks or maybe some meal preparation or light housekeeping, whatever. Call and find out more. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Number to call Holly Rowe and the crew, 312-5715. That number again, 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. You give them a call today. Well, it is Monday, and I've got an inkling that wherever he is sitting right now, he's doggone glad to be sitting by a heater if he is, because I heard on the East Coast it's really, really cold back there. The President of Americans for Limited Government. Good morning, Richard Manning. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you? And yes, it is cold. It's at my home. It's right now. It's 14 degrees and -1 wind chill. The wind is blowing like crazy, and it makes it a mite chilly. But we don't have any precipitation in the air, so it's just cold air. And you know what? It's survivable.
Absolutely. Richard, there's so much going on in the news right now, and we're at day 31 of the shutdown. And I thought what I would do this morning is ask you your thoughts. Literally a month today, the shutdown is in full swing. I don't care if they open it up or not right now, because if Trump capitulates, this administration is lost. What are your thoughts on what's happening with the shutdown?
I mean, you just synopsized it. It's a battle of wills between Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Donald Trump. And the one thing we know is the president keeps making statements and negotiating it with himself, and And he's got to stop doing that. You know, I think last night's Saturday's statement that he made related to a proposal is the last one he should make publicly. He's got a proposal out there, and it's the fact that Pelosi and Schumer have basically shown the back of the hand means he should say no more, and he needs to ratchet up the pressure, which he should have done a month ago. The ratcheting up the pressure looks like looking at reduction in force in terms of some of the positions that exist in the federal government that may not be needed, and looking at, since this is an appropriations bill, lowering the amount of money that it will be allocated for each department, targeting those dollars which are most important to places like California and New York.
What do you think in comparison to other parts of the country? I'd like to know what's going on specifically in your back door, neighborhood, your friends, people you work with, people that you go to church with, etc. What's the general feeling about the shutdown? Are they starting to put all the blame on Trump? Are they saying that he needs to capitulate? What's the general feeling?
Well, I can share with you what somebody told me at church yesterday. Their family's being impacted by it. I actually taught their son in Sunday school, and the mom came up and said, our family's being impacted, but we need to fix the border, and if we have to sacrifice a little bit now, it's a sacrifice that's worth doing to fix the border. So that was their attitude. But they are being impacted. They've had to go out and talk to their mortgage company and work a deal with the mortgage company. Some of the credit unions, like maybe Federal Credit Union, are offering, if you have an account with them, they're offering essentially a payday loan based on what you would have gotten at 0%. So they are fronting people, their customers, the payroll. At least for now. And so there's some accommodations are being made by various people in this community. My local church has something which is extraordinarily great ministry called End Hunger, which reaches really is making a difference in a lot of people's lives in Calvert County, Maryland. But but they've extended that to federal employees who may be struggling due to living paycheck to paycheck and having no paycheck to live on. So there is a real sense of a challenge because we do have a lot of federal workers and a lot of federal contractors who are being adversely impacted because they're not getting paid, and they're expected. Most of them are expected to work and not getting paid. So there is a human cost. Having said that, and most of those workers are blaming Trump. Many are, some are not. It all depends on their own personal predisposition. But but bottom line is, at some point, those workers are going to be screaming at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to get something done. Every single representative who represents the immediate D.C. area is a Democrat, and as a result, those representatives are the ones we're hearing, do something, do something, do something, and eventually those representatives will have sway in the Democratic caucus, and a deal will be made to open the government, and the president will get wall funding. It's just but right now, unless the president messes it up and negotiates it all the way before they crack, but this president can't lose this. If he loses this, his presidency's over.
I absolutely agree.
And the Democrats know it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Richard. The media in general, they're portraying this as a Trump. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. How does this carry over for 2020? I mean, if this thing isn't solved soon, how is this going to be brought forth in the pre-election, all the news media stories, all the hype and everything else? What do you think is going to happen there?
Depends on how it ends. And we got 21 months until the election, and as a result, 22 months until the election. As a result, it's a long way off. For all the people who are jumping in and running for election, running for office already. already, it's a long journey to November of 2020. And there will be, we're working news cycles where we've got 3 news cycles a day now. So if you look at 250, 300 days with 3 news cycles a day, that's 900 news cycles between now and then. So if you sit there and you say, this is a big deal now, this thing gets resolved in a month. The wall's getting built. There's a sense that something happened and it was positive. And then the president basically has North Korea, forces North Korea to actually start doing the nuclear disarmament stuff that they need to do, and is able to bring peace to North Korea, and is able to get China to start buying U.S. goods. So the trade deficit, rather than being the highest it's been in history, the trade deficit with China goes down, and we continue to see increased vibrancy in the economy. Nobody's going to remember this.
The thing that I am the most
as long as the president gets the wall built and we have a sense that we have voter security being put into place,
right?
Nobody's going to remember this in 21 months.
Yeah,
they're going to look at what actually is going on in their lives 21 months from now. But if he loses, his mojo will be gone.
Absolutely.
And at that point, he will be in deep trouble. In terms of an impeachment, and in terms of just being embroiled with nothing but controversy without the capacity to bring big crowds and bring big crowds together. Because quite honestly, if he loses on this and gives away a lot of stuff to get something done, his ability to attract crowds is going to be diminished, and that means his power will be diminished, and that would be a disaster.
You said something a minute ago that I absolutely want you to elaborate on a little bit. You said about his mojo being gone, and that he had better stop with all the giving and the compromising and draw a line in the sand. I'm paraphrasing some of your remarks, and I'm adding my own. I think he needs to take the sword out of the sheath and make a line in the sand and say, I'm not going anymore. This is it. I'm not going to capitulate anything more. You get this job done and come and compromise with me. I agree with you totally. He's almost lost by giving too much right now.
Yeah. Well, one of the basic rules, what demonstrates weakness is the person who starts making concessions with getting nothing in return. And, so essentially what that demonstrates is that you're trying to find bedrock that you can plant your feet on, that the public will support you. I think he's just getting impatient, and Nancy Pelosi has no intention of negotiating at all. Heck, she was going to go away for a week. So she's got no intention of negotiating. She has no intention of moving at all from her position. And she quite honestly doesn't care. I've said all along, Nancy Pelosi will not care until the third paycheck gets missed, at which point her constituents are going to go nuts and are going to start going nuts, and they're going to blame her because she's not getting it done. They're going to say, well, you have to negotiate. That's when the dam breaks. It's middle of February, and everything that happens between now and then is unless the Trump collapses, everything that happens between now and then is just sophistry. So what the president needs to do, and I'm going to just make this very clear. If I was sitting across from him, this is what I tell him: stop negotiating with yourself. A. B. Start cutting this is an appropriations bill. Start cutting those agencies' budgets, and just take the appropriations. Say we're no longer going to go this level. We're going this level, and have directed appropriations cuts that are directed at programs that California wants and programs New York wants. Go after Nancy's money that she's got stuck in the budget. Do that. Make it personal for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that they have to negotiate back the money that he's pulling out. If you do that to them, they have to come to the table, because you're suddenly hurting San Francisco and New York City, and ultimately that's all they care about. Hurt San Francisco and New York City and the budget, and they will come to the table and have to negotiate back their gains, the things they've got put into the budget. That's how you play this game back here. You have to be tough. You have to find out what the other person needs, and you have to take it away from them in order to get them to come to the table in this kind of circumstance. Until they start doing that, this is just going to sit there and just a bunch of, nothing's going to happen on it, and because Nancy doesn't have any skin in the game right now.
That's true. I wished you were in that private meeting with President Trump today, and you could start the ball rolling in that direction. Let me change stories.
On Thursday, so we'll see what happens.
God bless you, and bring it up. Tell him what Zeb said, too. By the way, I wanted to ask you about another story that it infuriates me because the news media in general, they jump at the crack of a whip in negativity towards anything that has anything to do with conservatives or Donald Trump. And I want to talk to you a little bit about this story about the Covington, Kentucky Catholic school teenagers visiting the Lincoln Monument with some of them wearing Make America Great Again caps. And they were the ones that were basically attacked, per se, not the other way around.
Yeah, these kids were waiting for the bus. They attended the March for Life, which had 650,000 people there, by the way. It was a massive crowd, which the mainstream media managed to ignore. But they're saying they're waiting for their bus to go home, and at the Lincoln Memorial. And and some activists come up, and they start surround them, and they start yelling all sorts of horrible things at these kids. Just incredibly horrible things at these kids. They used racial epithets at one of the black kids who was in the group. They were calling them suggesting that their gender choices were wrong, and attacking their sexual preference. Everything vile that you would anticipate that they would have put as something that the conservatives would do to the liberals, they did to these kids. And these kids kept their cool and just stood there. And then this radical, who happens to be a Native American activist, comes up and starts beating a drum in this kid's ear while screaming at him. And somehow the kid, who doesn't even talk back to the guy, is picked. The media takes a snippet of video and say, "Look, they surrounded this guy," and then he claimed to have been subjected to all sorts of abuse, and the media ran with it. All the media ran with it, as if because these kids were wearing MAGA hats and were white and were from a Catholic school, they were automatically found to be guilty in the court of public opinion. And of course, within a day, the real video came out, and everybody said, "Wait a second, that's not what happened." And a lot of people are apologizing. But this is the thing that in today's internet media, it's basically there's a liberal lynch mob that exists, and they are more than willing to find you to be repugnant by virtue of the fact that you don't accept their premises, and they don't really apologize for it. They just move on to the next thing that they're going to attack. CNN is the tip of the spear. The MSNBC is the world tip of the spear. But the fact is, these kids are receiving death threats in spite of the fact that they did nothing wrong. In fact, if they behave so well that it's almost astonishing how that these kids should be given certificates of achievement for not punching these guys in the nose. So they really hate us. I mean, just understand, they really hate us, and that's the problem President Trump has on the wall. It's the problem he has dealing with Congress at all. The fact is, the people on the other side of the aisle really hate us, and they assume the worst. They think we're racist pigs, and that we don't have a right to exist. And while we want to have a civil discussion with them, they want us to die.
Yeah.
So it becomes really, really hard to come up with something where you can say a common ground. And I've said this for a year and a half now, but I'm going to keep trying. At some point, if there is a rational middle on the left remaining, if there's anything rational besides the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wing of the left, that has to emerge, because what's being done is not survivable as a country.
Absolutely. Richard, I've only got a couple of minutes left, but I want you to touch on one other story, because I said, and I've said many times since the story opened about a week ago, that all of us, and we should be talking to our ministers and our preachers and our church leaders, etc., all of us could have happened to us what happened to Karen Pence, who has done nothing wrong but try to teach art inside of a Christian school. But the denigration of the school and the attributes that that school has, which I absolutely commend, are under attack, as she is. What are your thoughts on this story?
Well, it's the same story as we're seeing with the judge who Kamala Harris attacked for having the audacity, and Hirono from Hawaii attacked for having the audacity to be a member of the Knights of Columbus. The fact is, if you have in any way, shape, or form expressed Christian faith or Christian service, you are in fact deemed to be subject. Everything they think that's bad in the world, they throw on you. It is, it's a world turned upside down. But read the Book of Acts. People should just read the Book of Acts. Every Christian should read the Book of Acts and just understand that this is the exact state that the early Christian church found itself in Rome. We had, Nero blamed Rome on the burning of Rome on Christians and was literally torchlighting the town with Christian bodies. If you don't want to read the Book of Acts, go see the movie Paul, Apostle Paul, that came out last year. Or get the DVD. It'll show you what that's really like. But the fact is, God's love thrived. There was struggle, but the entire Christian church grew out of that kind of repression. And so God uses everything for good. It may not feel good for us right now, but God uses everything for good.
Absolutely. Oh, and to wrap things up this morning, we were both kind of right in our prognostications about the teams going to the Super Bowl. I said the Rams and the Chiefs. The Chiefs went overtime, as both games went overtime, but it looks like it's going to be the Rams and the Patriots. And I would imagine that you are probably a Patriot fan.
I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm a Rams fan.
Ah, well, good.
So, and I got it completely right. I had the Rams and the Patriots because I picked Tom Brady over Mahomes.
Oh, that's right, you did.
So I got it completely right in terms of my prognostications. I quite honestly didn't expect the Rams to win. I just wanted them to. But and thanks to my USC guy, Nickel Roby, they won with a great pass interference he made that wasn't called game-saving play. So so I'm all happy that my USC guy came through with his cheating just in time to win.
I got to tell you, that wasn't pass interference. That was literally smoking a guy.
Yeah, it was a helmet-to-helmet contact before the ball got there. Well, you didn't bother to look back for the ball. It was, in fact, if you looked right back for the ball, it would have intercepted it. So it was my USC guy playing dirty and winning. So every once in a while, the refs pocket a flag at the right time for my team. So that had happened the opposite way enough times that I'm not going to bemoan the fact that once in a while it happens on the good guys' time.
I will say that I thought Sean Payton this morning probably was going to end up in a rest home in a padded room wearing a vest, because I thought he was going to jump out of his clothes yesterday.
He was, I think he probably had to get a blood pressure check afterwards because I had worried that he was going to have a stroke. And you know what? In fairness, it is. These games end up, it's so frustrating. These guys play their guts out. They bleed. They spend months upon months training and getting ready to be at the height of their abilities. And to have a part-time referee sit there, standing right there, to blow an obvious call that cost somebody the game is, it really calls into question the NFL and what they're doing, because they still have part-time referees.
Yeah.
They've got a multi-billion-dollar game, and they're using guys who are basically working as accountants through the week as their referees. What are they thinking? They have to change it, but that's a difference. There's a lot of things at the NFL level they have to change. I'll tell you, I didn't watch much of the game. I'm a huge sports fan, but I've given up on the NFL, so I don't really watch much. but I did catch enough to I saw the good part.
Absolutely. Well, listen, as usual, I always say this after every segment. Thank you. Great job, President of Americans for Limited Government, Richard Manning. God bless. Stay warm. See you next Monday.
Absolutely. See you then.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Well, I enjoy having him on the air. Good guy. He's going to be talking to the president later this week, and we'll find out what that conversation was like. Don't forget our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Hewart. What a nice, underline that word, nice man, serving you and your families, along with his staff and his family at Hanson Mortuary. When there's the passing of a loved one, please remember to give them a call. They can and they will help you, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. I'll repeat it again, 436-5636. And Joel Hewart also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I want to remind you, too, holy moly, I saw Jeff at the game the other night. Jeff Bronson at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And his boy's a firecracker. I mean, boy, he is a water bug. Zip, 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 zip. He's all over that court. Don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They got a big flooring event going on right now. It's called the January Flooring Event. You can carpet your entire home. You pick the prices and the quality of the carpet. The standard carpet, $69 per month. Better carpet, $89, and the premium carpet, $99 a month. Oh, includes carpet, sales tax, pad, installation, everything. You better check it out today at the January flooring event going on now at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see these really, really good people today. Real quick, I also want to remind you about our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They've got all the snowmobiles. Woohoo! Fun in the snow. The angel dandruff is piling up, and there's going to be more today, too. Don't forget they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. All the snowmobiles, all the accessories, and a super service department to keep you running. Stop over and see them today. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, I absolutely enjoy having this man on our program and others of his ilk because they tell it like it is with the, I sometimes say, laughability of climate change and global warming, etc. But we're very, very fortunate to have the executive director of the International Climate Science Coalition with us this morning, and he's always welcome here. Mr. Tom Harris, good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, Zeb. How are you?
Well, Tom, I'm getting nervous. I got to be honest with you. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm an old man, but I can see the twisting and the turning of some of the climate change professionals, if you will, that are trying to create more of their ilk. And they've even got our new governor, Brad Little, coming onto their side. I'm a little nervous as to what's going on here. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's quite interesting because we just had a piece published last night about his statements. And if you actually look at what he's saying, I have a quote here, which we had published in Connecticut, and I can send you the email. He said, this was back on Wednesday when he was speaking at the Idaho Environmental Forum. Governor Little said, climate is changing. There's no question about it. He goes on to say, we've just got to figure out how to cope with it, and we've got to slow it down. Now, reversing it is going to be a big darn job.
Yeah.
Well, unless he has control over all the factors that influence climate, he can't significantly reduce or reverse it. And you have to ask, well, what does he want to reverse it to? I mean, does he want to reverse it to the period when Greenland colonies were settled in, the medieval warm period? Does he want to reduce it to the warmest period since the end of the last glacial, which was the Holocene optimum? I mean, after all, it was 8,000 years ago during that period when the planet was 2 to 3 degrees warmer than now, and sea level was rising about 10 times faster than now. Is that what he wants? Or maybe he wants colder periods. It goes back to the climate of the Wisconsin glacial period when parts of Idaho were buried under a glacier. So what does he want?
Well, and I know Brad really well. As a matter of fact, I will say this: I consider him to be a friend. We've had dinner together, we've visited together for quite a few years, and I'm going to invite him on the program, Tom, and I'm going to be talking to him about this because I think he has been duped into trying to be all things to all people, and I think he's got to remain firm about really the idiocy and the incompetency of what climate change and global warming alarmists want. They never really give you a definitive picture, in my opinion. They don't tell you what their optimum is. They don't tell you what the...
They say they want to reverse climate change, but they don't tell you what the ideal climate is.
That's right.
And, of course, the ideal climate totally depends on where you live and, which species you're talking about. Governor Little was right, though, about one thing. He said that we have to learn to cope with climate change. And of course, that's exactly the case. You have to adapt to it. And, the Viking colonies, they died out because when the Little Ice Age started, they couldn't cope with climate change. So Governor Little, that's the governor you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Your governor?
Yes.
Yeah, the Republican governor, actually. And, so, some of what he said makes sense, but this business of reversing climate change, it doesn't make any sense because, of course, climate change is all the time, okay? In fact, it's interesting that over the 4.6 billion years of the Earth, our climate variations have been as much as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a myth to say that, climate is essentially constant until we start burning fossil fuels. It's been all over the map.
Tom, let's talk just a little bit about that, the fossil fuels. Do these people, and you know this far better than I, when you go to these various conferences and debates and speeches, etc., do these people have any fathoming as to what they're asking and demanding as far as like Ocasio-Cortez saying stupidity like, in 5 or 6 years we'd like to see the complete stoppage of fossil fuel usage in this country. What about agriculture? What about transportation? What about the electrical grid? Are we all going to regress back into caves?
Yeah, it's very sad because, a lot of the people on the left consider themselves social justice warriors, looking after the poor and the oppressed and the disadvantaged. But in fact, if they do bring in the kind of policies they're talking about, getting rid of our least expensive form of electricity, for example, which is generally speaking coal, then, the poor are the ones that are hurt the most.
Yep.
And I have a quote here from the America First Energy Conference that was held in Houston in 2017 that I attended. And Dr. Roger Bezdek, he said the following. He talked about fossil fuels. He said, they are the foundation of our current economy. They created and sustained the modern world. They permit the current high quality of life that we all enjoy. Artificially reducing fossil fuels would destroy world economies. That's pretty definite.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
makes sense, of course, because fossil fuels provide about 80% of the world's energy. So if you try and suddenly reduce that, who's going to hurt the most? It's the poor and the disadvantaged.
Well, we have a caller, and then I want to pursue this a little bit further. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Please, go ahead.
Zeb, I don't want to throw our governor underneath the bus, but I think what he's working towards is trying to get selective cutting back into our national forest again to cut down on some of these wildfires we're having out west here and bring that selective cutting back into our forests here where we've got so much dead standing wood because of the bark beetles.
Well, Earl, that's all well and good, but then he should have made that statement that had the wood and the fuel in the forest as part of his statement. But to just say that climate is changing, there's no question about it, and leaving it kind of vague like he's siding with the climatologists that aren't climatologists, the extremists, that left a lot of room there to go after Brad Little.
Yeah, yes, it did, but I hope this opens something up so we can get back to cleaning up our national forests.
I agree with that.
I think you're quite right,
Yep.
caller, because, in fact, the environmentalists have made it so that we're more likely to have dangerous fires by not allowing the clean out of the forest. You have to realize that nature would naturally burn through quickly and take out all the dead wood. It would leave the rest of the trees intact. But we put out the fires for good reason. So we have to clean out the dead wood and the dead forest foliage foliage and things. Otherwise, we just have a tinderbox waiting for a forest fire, and it'll get really bad and become a base fire where it even burns into the ground. They're very hard to put out then.
Well, I would never...
What money we're spending towards putting out these fires could go to a good use as to cleaning up our forest.
Absolutely. Earl, God bless you. Thank you for your call, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
My best to you, too.
All right, buddy. Tom, one thing that really bothers me, though, and this is something I'd like you to address. It was on your information sheet that you sent me for this week, about how these folks, the environmentalists and those climate change activists, are so dead set against human beings. I mean, it seems rather ambiguous that they want to kill themselves off.
Yeah. Well, the extreme environmentalists, I think, fall into that category. A lot of the environmentalists, I think, have a good heart, and they just are misguided. They don't understand that when you replace fossil fuels, with wind turbines, you not only get unreliable power, but you also have enormous increases in rates for electricity, which, of course, hurts the poor. But you are right. There are people in the environmental movement who are quite anti-human. And, I have a quote here from research biologist David Graeber. He says, "Human happiness and certainly human fecundity are not as important as a wild and healthy planet. I know social scientists who remind me that people are part of nature, but it isn't true. Somewhere along the line, at about 1 billion years ago, we quit the contract and became a cancer. We have become a plague upon ourselves and upon the earth." And that really, raises an interesting question, Zeb. I mean, first of all, people on the left, and most thinking people, accept that human beings are animals, that, and they believe in Darwin's theories, although those are, debatable to some degree. So they're saying that we are natural, humans are natural, but that somehow what we're doing is not natural. So how can that be? I mean, that doesn't even make sense, like, if we're natural, then everything we do is natural. So the whole division between natural and human is pretty artificial.
Well, let me jump in here and say this, and I don't know what your reasonings are on various other topics, but I'm going to say this. I look at these activists and the environmentalists in general and these climate alarmists, etc., as anti-God, anti-Christian people that absolutely have no faith or basis of faith in the Bible, its teachings, and or again God. And I think that's another reason they're trying to drum God out of our society, is because they want to make it a humanistic approach.
Well, yeah, I think that you've got a good point there, and they are replacing God with environmentalism, basically, as their religion. And it's a religion because they get furious when, in fact, you have facts that disagree with them. For example, if you were debating with an environmentalist in Idaho, you might want to tell them, well, did you know that your all-time maximum temperature was set on July 28th, 1934? Okay? And you look at the records in the state database, for example, and you don't find things that are happening recently. They're all a long time ago. And the sea level is not accelerating. It's only going up about 7-8 inches per century. And, of course, since 1880, the average Earth temperature statistic has only gone up about 1 degree Celsius. So, if you actually look at the real data as to what's happening, environmentalists get serious. And that's where, indeed, I think that it becomes like an extreme religion, basically opposing God and opposing, common sense.
Let me ask you this in regards to climate change and or / global warming or whatever. What's the net result going to be? We're looking at the liberals and the Democrats right now. They're making a full court press. If this were a basketball game, they're on a full court press right now looking for 2020. And climate change is one of their main agendas for control of the people. How much worse do you anticipate this is going to get in the next year?
Oh, I think it's going to get a lot worse, especially with the Democratic power in the House of Representatives and some really extreme new, people coming into that part of Congress. I think what we're going to see is an attempt at all costs to get rid of Trump, because Trump has been a breath of fresh air for people who want to think about climate change and actually who recognize that climate is, or I should say science, is being a skeptic. I mean, that is part of science. So he's actually acting in quite a scientific way when he says, I don't believe it, or I do believe it, or I'm skeptical. These are the ways that the president should be behaving. And, what I really hope he does is he reopens the endangerment finding, Because, you see, what the Environmental Protection Agency has done is they have declared carbon dioxide, plant food, that's what we pump into greenhouses to make them grow faster, and what we breathe out, they've declared that a danger to human health and welfare. And, of course, as long as that exists, as long as that labeling of carbon dioxide exists, then we're going to see all sorts of new rules, and, of course, people will challenge the current government in court because the EPA says it's dangerous. We have to go back and revisit that completely, because carbon dioxide is not only not dangerous, we could triple levels of carbon dioxide in today's atmosphere. That would be great for plants. That's 1,200 parts per million, and it's 3 times the current 400. That would be great, and it wouldn't bother us at all. I mean, you're talking about 1,200 parts per million in a crowded conference room. So we have to completely revisit that, and you've got to do that with the science. A lot of people say, oh, no, we don't want to get into the science. Well, you have to, because if you don't, this is left on the books, and the next president could be a Democrat. It'll be easy as pie for him to just bring back in these plans, the Clean Power Plan and other things that are based on this ruling.
And, when you start talking, and I'd like you to elaborate on this a little bit, Tom, because with your knowledge, I'm sure you have got plenty of things to say about the Democrats, of which there are many, Tom Steyer's and many others, that have said, they want a complete implementation of a carbon usage tax on all Americans. That would just, to me, it's nothing more than a tax to hurt the elderly and to those with less income and drive them into complete oblivion. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're quite right. In fact, there's something called the climate damages tax that was promoted at the polling conference. And what they'd like to see, believe it or not, is that an extra tax is added whenever they extract fossil fuels from the ground. Okay, whether it's at the coal mine or at the wellhead, they want this climate damages tax. And the whole concept is that we in the West have caused damages to the climate of developing countries. And so we've got to pay, and actually buried in a lot of the UN discussion is something called the Warsaw Pact, Warsaw Loss and Damages Agreement. That's what it is. And what they're saying in that is that the West, the developed countries, can be held responsible for loss and damages in developing countries that we supposedly caused. In other words, if they have a cyclone or a typhoon, they can say, you in the West caused it because of your fossil fuel emissions, so you owe us to fix up from, to repair from this natural event, although they don't call it natural event. But the real problem here, Zeb, is that there's no sort of statute of limitations. How far back can they go in time?
Yeah.
Can they go back to Hurricane Haiyan? Can they go back to even earlier hurricanes and start to say, you in the West have to pay us to pay for those damages? And so the whole thing is all, it's going completely off the rails, and it's not going to end anytime soon, because the amount of money that is going into the climate scare is huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, every year around the world, there's more than $1 billion U.S. a day being spent on climate finance, and 95% of that goes to supposedly trying to stop climate change. Only 5% of it goes to real people today to help them adapt to what is undoubtedly natural climate change. And that is another thing that social justice warriors should be concerned about, because the people who need help today are not getting it, because most of it goes to this fictitious idea. And I say fictitious because it's all based on computer models that don't work. The whole, 95% of the money is going to try to stop something that these models forecast.
Let me ask you this final thought. It's great for you and I to discuss this on my radio program on occasion and try to come up with some answers. And I'm trying to be an activist against this movement. But most of America, unfortunately, I talked to some relatives back east. I talked to some friends down in the South over the last couple of days. Most Americans today, unfortunately, are so naive about what this problem is and how it's being perpetrated upon the American public that they're like sponges. They just absorb it and believe it. Am I wrong in my thinking?
No, you're completely right. In fact, most media, especially in Canada, I'm very fortunate to get on shows like yours in the U.S., but, in Canada especially, the media are just 100% behind the climate scare. Wow. Occasionally we'll, get cracks through, but not much. So the thing people have to do is they have to ask very candid questions of the environmentalists. How much has the temperature changed since 1880? Most people would say, it must be 5 or 6 degrees. Well, if the environmentalist knows anything, they're going to tell you it's about 1 degree Celsius. You say, well, when was the last maximum temperature record set in, pick any state, say Idaho, as I said before? Oh, I'll have to tell you 1934. And so once they start answering these questions with real numbers, people will start to scratch their head and say, is this really worth spending all this money on when really nothing's happening?
That's the point. What more can we do, Tom? I know that you're busy, you're speaking, you're coming on radio and TV programs, etc. But what can I do? What can my audience do? I mean, we should be standing there with pitchforks ready to go down Pennsylvania Avenue if this attitude persists.
Well, I think there's a few things they can do. I think the most immediate thing they can do is call into radio talk shows. I think that gets them an immediate audience. And lots of people then start to say, yeah, I was thinking about that too. You have to somehow make it more and more politically correct to say the kinds of things we're saying. So that would be the first step. The next step is to actually write letters to the editor and say, look, have you guys actually looked at these climate models? They forecast there was 3 times more warming in the last few decades than there actually was. So I don't see how you can base billion-dollar policy decisions on models that don't work. And, you know, that article I sent you in TJ Media, it gives people the ammunition they need to send, 80-word letters to the editor. So these are things that people can do. And as I said, I think the biggest thing is calling into talk shows because you're immediately on air and heard by many people.
All right. Well, listen, Tom, anything you want to send me, you mentioned earlier you had some information you wanted to email me. Please do so. I'd like to have as much as I can from you prior to our meeting with the governor potentially next Monday. But I want to say how much I appreciate everything you do, the executive director of the International Climate Science Coalition, Mr. Tom Harris. Tom, God bless you, and thank you for coming on the program.
And thanks for having me on, Jet.
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you much. I look forward to having this man on the program as often as I can, and he's very knowledgeable, very articulate, and I appreciate him. Mr. Tom Harris, Executive Director of the International Climate Science Coalition. All right, let's pay some bills here real quick. I want to remind everyone, we've got a weather forecast. Good heavens, Wheels, why didn't you just snap me side the ear? Our weather is brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And, of course, they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. Oh, the list goes on. And the services go on and on. Absolutely the best with offices in Burley and Rupert. Please remember the name and give them a call for an appointment. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Martin Luther King Day Monday, and we are expecting a 40% chance of snow showers. Mostly cloudy skies, plus it's going to be windy out there. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, hopefully everything will be calming down. Partly cloudy skies. Going to get cold, only a low of 19. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 32. Mostly cloudy and 26 for Thursday night. Then by Wednesday, another slight chance of snow showers. Winds are going to be picking up again, and we are expecting a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Reyes.
Thank you, Gina. And, of course, brought to you by our friends, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And believe me, there's been a lot of changes in tax laws and deductions and everything. And I urge you to get a hold of them today and work with the best that are trying to protect you and save you money. Of course, your business, your family, everybody. Please remember Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with offices in Burley and Rupert. Wow, busy program this morning, and coming up next hour, what have we got? Al Luciano. I do not know this gentleman very well. As a matter of fact, I've never met him. He's a new guest on our program. He's going to be talking about guns and border problems, et cetera, so we're looking forward to that. And then at 10:32 this morning, do not forget, we have the Idaho Legislative Update, sponsored by Handy Truck Line, and we sincerely appreciate them. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, the very best serving you with all the life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this, and they're very, very dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you have to do, it's real simple. Call the number, make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You get a hold of them today, okay? Want to remind you that once a month we get together as Zeb's Lunch Bunch over at Denny's Restaurant in Burley at 611 North Overland in Burley. This Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day. And we got a good group, fun group, a lot of good people. And we just absolutely are looking forward to having you and them be there at 11:30. And we've got a lot of gift certificates to give away. Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. Oh, we really appreciate all these good folks. It's a lot of fun, and the food is phenomenal. At Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. Lunch Bunch Day coming up on this Thursday. Don't you miss it. I had a note from Doreen McMurray. The Soil and Water Conservation Districts in the Mini-Cassia area are hosting their 5th annual Soil Health Workshop in Burley on Wednesday, February 6th. The workshop and luncheon are free. Free! Call 208-572-3369 to reserve your spot. Again, that number, 208-572-3369. And don't forget this, too, that on Valentine's Day, the Minidoka County Senior Center is going to have a Valentine's Day dinner. They're going to have it at 6 p.m. You get your choice of halibut or chicken cordon bleu, and it's $18 per person. Call the Senior Center and make reservations at 436-9107. And last, I'm in a hurry, tonight, suicide prevention and awareness meeting, and this is very, very important. It's going to be at the Burley High School Little Theater, special guest Hank Smith. It's tonight at 6 o'clock till 7:30, community invited. That is tonight. Don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to get all set to send this back over to Wheels, and we've got the CBS News, followed by our guest in about 7 minutes, Zeb at the Ranch. Don't you go away. Oh, my goodness sakes, the wind is blowing outside. Kind of a chilly winter day. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for wintertime driving. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers, too, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Quality's Electronics. Holy moly, these are good people. I've known the family for a long time. They're located at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Don't you forget the big Super Bowl sale is going on now. Big savings on the big TVs for the big game. I'll tell you what, you better get in there and save money and enjoy a football game on the big screen that looks like you're having the whole thing played right in your living room. Stop in and check it out today. All the great buys on the big TVs for the big game at Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Really good people. Right now, I've never had this gentleman on the phone before with me, but I'm looking forward to talking to him. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I was just going to let you know, I've been trying to get a hold of Mr. Luciano, but for some reason I'm not able to get him, but I'm still trying both phone lines at the moment.
Okay, well, you just keep on trying and let me know the minute you do get through, okay?
Will do. Thank
All right, buddy. Thank you. So in that case, we're trying to run him down. He's at what's called the SHOT Show down in Las Vegas, and it's a shooting, hunting, and outdoor trade show. So we're trying to get him on the phone. And while we're waiting, I would love to have calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 about anything you want to talk about about this morning? I'd love to hear from you. Come on, you must have some opinions on various things that are or have been in the news the last couple of days, so give us a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see. I wanted to talk. I think I would like to ask you a little bit about Christian education under attack in this country by the left evil haters. Now, we, you and me, as Christians, have every single right to follow our biblical statements and live our lives accordingly. One man, one woman marriage, not believing in the homosexual lifestyle, is something that I'm going to maintain on this program and not weaken. Absolutely not weaken.
Sir,
yes.
I have your guest on for you now.
Ah, Wheels, the lost is found. You're a good man, McGee. Put yourself in for a raise. You won't get it, but thank you anyway.
Well, you're very welcome,
okay.
sir. I'm glad I can get him for you.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said a moment ago, we have this gentleman, I believe he's down in Las Vegas right now at what is called the 2019 Shooting, Hunting, and Outdoor Trade Show, the SHOT Show. Good morning, Al Luciano. How are you?
I am excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Well, you got a lot of background noise, but we'll try to get through it if we can. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Why have I got you on the program this morning?
Well, you know, I'm just a general good old guy that likes to do a bunch of good things with kids, keep them safe, teach people how to do great things with firearms and be safe around them. But in the meantime, I do some political commentary and give people opinions that are sometimes good, sometimes controversial, but always my own.
You know, Al, I'm so glad you're on the program, and I'm going to state why. I'm a gun owner, and I believe in the Second Amendment, and, of course, I'm saying the things that you hear every day. But I also am very concerned about an insidious, evil left that is doing everything and will continue to do more to take our guns and our rights away from us. What are you doing to help stop this?
Well, you know, I tell everybody the same thing. Today, right now as we stand today, if you are a gun owner, you need to be a member of the NRA. Whether you agree with everything they do and say or not, they are the organization that has the manpower, the people, the political juice, and the mechanisms and infrastructure in place to best defend and promote our Second Amendment rights. The next thing that everybody can do is take the time and write a letter. Take a couple minutes, write a letter to your senator, to your representatives, and to the president. And then, if you've got extra time, write to your local newspapers, regional places, news folks out there, and let them know how you feel and that you are a Second Amendment supporter, you are a firearm owner, you are not evil, you're not a bad person, and you believe in the right of free people to self-defense.
Al, let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, and you're out there right now at a show that is talking about shooting, hunting, and outdoor living, etc. What are your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10? How serious is the problem with the dissolvement of our Second Amendment and taking away our gun rights? 1 not being so bad, 10 being very serious. Where are we?
Well, I would say as long as we maintain control of the Senate, we're probably in the middle there somewhere on a 4 to 6, call it a 5, kind of midway. But the problem is that in today's society, with the tools that we have for media, while they can be a fantastic tool and can get good words and good things out, it can also be used for not so good and nefarious things, like misrepresenting what gun ownership actually is, and convincing people who are of, I would say, not above average intelligence, what the founders meant when they said shall not be infringed. And you know, I tell people all the time, the founding fathers of this country, they ran away from oppression. They ran away from an idea of social caste and socialism, and they demanded and built an experiment in freedom. As free people, we choose our own path. Sometimes those choices means our outcomes are different than others, but that's the reward and risk of freedom.
Al, what about the show? Tell us a little bit where you're at and what's the purpose of the shooting, hunting, and outdoor trade show. I mean, basically, what is it and what is it trying to do?
Well, Shooting, Hunting, and Outdoor Trade Show at one point was one of the top 10 trade shows in the world. And what it is it is the trade show for every company in the firearms and outdoor sports industry. So hunting, traditionally hunting, there's not a lot of fishing here. They have their own show for fishing. But hunting, firearms, and surrounding, business, connected businesses. The event I'm at today is called Media Day at the Range. This is the day when all the new products are demonstrated. You can probably hear the shooting going on in the background.
Yes.
And that is everybody's got their new pistols, their new rifles, their new shotguns, and we all get to play with them all day today and learn about what the hot new things are. A lot of archery stuff here too today. So I forgot there's a lot of archery stuff here as well.
Al, let me ask you this in regards to this trade show. Is there a lot of animus against the trade show? Are there people protesting? Are there people against it? Are there people that are trying to get it stopped? What's the general feeling about this 2019 trade show?
Well, I can tell you that the folks in Vegas love us because these people come into Vegas and they spend just a ton of money. And, they stay in hotels, they eat at restaurants, they do a lot of other different things. And so they obviously love the business. Every year, something winds up coming through on the news about a protest somewhere. We never see that. They do a good job keeping that away from the show itself. So we tend to not run into that. Occasionally it happens, but I would say they do a good job of kind of keeping that out of the business aspect. Because when all said and done, while we are here in support of the Second Amendment, we're all here to do business. This is our business. And when I tell people that are anti-gun, I say, you must not be a very compassionate person because you would effectively unemploy several million people and kill an industry that's worth somewhere in the realm of $34 billion a year.
Yeah. Al, what do you do besides being a great spokesman for shooting and guns and gun enthusiasts? What do you do for a full-time job?
I operate as an industry consultant, so I work with a lot of different companies. I contract to different companies for various things. I have several different companies that contract me for sales and also PR work. And then I donate my time to some youth organizations, namely the United Sportsmen's Youth Foundation and a Second Amendment organization with 2AO, the Second Amendment organization, that fights differently. They are a business organization for the Second Amendment.
I owe you an apology because I wrote it down in a big hurry and I kept calling you Al. Please forgive me. I meant to say Ace Luciano. Please, I beg your forgiveness on this.
That's okay. I couldn't even hear you.
Okay.
So it's awful loud here. It's real windy. Actually, surprisingly cold for Vegas, but that's the desert,
Let me ask you real quick. Jackie Jones, that sent me some information on you, said you're really knowledgeable about what's going on at our border. And at this time and at this juncture with President Trump trying to get some more border security, what are your thoughts about what the Democrats are doing, dragging their feet in cement?
I think that anybody that has ever locked their home, their car door, has ever chained up a bike to a post, has ever locked a gate to their property, or anybody that has a fence anywhere or has gone through a fence and recreated or taken part in there or in a secure building is a hypocrite if they say we don't need security and a wall at the border. Having had the fortune to live on two U.S. borders, one north, one south, I can tell you that they are dynamically and drastically different, between the Canadian border and the Mexican border. First of all, in Canada, they're a first world country. Their people have the food they need. They have health care. They have jobs. They have an economy. They have quite a good economy. They have great industries like timber, mining, oil, all kinds of things. Whereas Mexico doesn't have anywhere near that and operates essentially as a third world country. And while I don't deny anybody the desire to improve their position and stature, and I don't deny anyone the dream that is the freedom of America, I do deny them the method of doing so illegally. We welcome all comers to this country that wish to have a better life and be productive citizens. We do not welcome people coming in and taking advantage of our generosity. My grandparents are immigrants. They came here legally. They became citizens, as did all of my relatives.
Mm-hmm. With your knowledge on the border, you have been there many times. I also have been there many, many times. What would you tell the Democrats that kind of poo-poo this thing and say, oh, there's no border crisis, there's nothing that's necessary, actually things are tamed down, we don't need to spend any money down there? What would you, if you had a meeting this afternoon with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, what would you tell them?
I would tell them straight out that they are insensitive and uncaring to the plight of the people coming across the border. My dear friend of 30 years, who is a Border Patrol agent, all the time finds women that are beaten, that are raped, that are near death. They find children that are left behind because they can't keep up. They find people wandering lost in the desert that are dangerously dehydrated, right? And if you have compassion for those people that are seeking a better life, then you will do what is necessary to reduce the risk of them putting themselves, their children, their wives, and their daughters through the torture and the abuse that is a border crossing.
Absolutely. Ace, we've got a caller with a question. If you can't hear it, let me know, and I'll make sure that I paraphrase it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air. Quickly.
Yes,
Quickly.
when people come here, they want America to be America. They come here because they see an opportunity. Even if it's an opportunity to take advantage of the welfare system. If it wasn't for the fact that we have free market capitalism, we couldn't fund a welfare system, and they couldn't take advantage of it. But if they cut the legs out of America and they destroy the structure that makes us wealthy, they are destroying the very thing they think they want. And it's like we're going to take it while the taking's good. Well, if you take it down and kill it, it's over with. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller if you would, Ace, please.
Well, I have to tell you, it broke up a little bit, but I think the gist of what he was saying is that those people are all coming here because we have a free market capitalist society, and by doing so and coming here and being a drain on the system, they are putting that at risk. Is that kind of the gist of what he said?
Basically, that is correct, yes.
Yeah, so what I can tell you is I couldn't agree more. In this country, we have the greatest gift on earth. That is freedom. We have the freedom to succeed, but also the freedom to fail. We have freedom of opportunity, but not equality of outcome. And this is the greatest nation on God's green earth. If it wasn't so, these people would not be risking their lives to come here. There would not be people in Cuba drowning because they strapped together a refrigerator and a couple tire inner tubes and are trying to make it to Florida, right? We have a fantastic system here, and the problem is there are too many people in this country that feel that government is the answer and that government should be able to provide for everybody. That is not the case. We as Americans, as free people, need to enhance the message that we put out and, quite frankly, be more effective in the messaging that we put out, that the thing that makes us different is freedom, and that socialism has never worked, ever, not a single time.
That's right.
Socialism always leads to communism. And you know what? At the end of the day, when the unproductive take from the productive, there comes a point where the productive say, we're not going to do this anymore. We are now going to become a part of the unproductive because there's no benefit to us being productive anymore. That's part of the free market society. And quite frankly, we aren't a true free market, and the reason for that is oppressive government regulation, rules, and people trying to make licensures and registrations and such for everything. Guns are just the beginning. But yes, we're an experiment in freedom, and people coming in let's face it, it's an invasion, and it puts that freedom at risk.
Ace, last question this morning I want to ask you about. You're down at this shooting, hunting, and outdoor trade show called SHOT Show. What are you seeing? Any new innovations in guns and rifles? Tell us a little bit about the show itself.
Well, I tell you, there's some really cool new stuff here. There's new stuff in communication, new stuff in digital hearing protection. There's a brand new, I got the opportunity yesterday to shoot a brand new AR platform rifle that folds. That's a double folding rifle. It fits in a small case that's about 12 inches by 16 inches that can fit anywhere, fit in a, in the back of a car, truck, whatever. Has a novel recoil system that is only 2 inches long. So there's all kinds of new innovation. Every year there are big things unveiled, but we've literally been in the show for 30 minutes. So I imagine it's just going to get better and better as the week goes on.
What about pistols for home protection and home usage? Are there innovative ideas in that field?
There's always something new. I haven't specifically seen what some of the new ones are yet. I know that there are some places that we want to go and see, like Glock has got the G48, I think it's called, pistol, the G43 rather, and the G48 pistol that I want to go by. Springfield, I think, has a new compact handgun. Somebody told me that Taurus had a new firearm this year. So there's always new and innovative things here. But again, it kind of takes, it's such a big show and it's such a big event. We literally haven't even had a chance to shoot yet. We've been here such a short time.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the program, and I certainly hope you'll allow me to call you back and have you in the future. Ace Luciano, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
It's my pleasure, and I can assure you I'll come anytime you like.
All right, sir. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You as well.
You could hear the pop, pop, pop in the background at the shooting, hunting, and outdoor trade show called the 2019 SHOT Show down in Las Vegas, Nevada area. And I'll tell you what, this man, Ace Luciano, we'll have him back on the air in the future. Pro-Second Amendment, pro-border security, Ace Luciano. Thank you very much for being on the show. Wow, we have got a lot of things to cover here. Don't forget, in just a few minutes, we're going to have the Idaho Legislative Update on our program this morning as the legislative session in full swing. And this morning, in just a few minutes, we're going to have Representative Fred Wood on our program. So stay tuned for that. I want to remind you on Thursdays that we have a special segment on our show called School Days in Cassia County. And a lot of the top-notch people are on the program every week, and we certainly appreciate everything that they do. And it's brought to you by and sponsored by some really good folks, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. And they've got all the little toys and stuffed toys and the games and the puzzles and everything over there at A Child's World, along with all the clothing and the furniture. It's all there. And remember this, that all the winter clothes are 40% off and the coats are 50% off. And of course, they've got all the Cherokee scrub uniforms, etc. All of this and more at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. You stop in and they bring you Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. This will give me another opportunity to remind you that tonight at 6 p.m. at the Burley High School Little Theater, there will be a suicide prevention and awareness program put on with a special guest by the name of Hank Smith. This is going to be tonight from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m., and the community is really invited to attend. Please, Mr. Hank Smith, the guest speaker, and that's going to be at the Burley High School Little Theater at 6 p.m. this evening. Don't you miss it. Thank you very much. I had another note here that I needed to get on one more time for this morning. Oh, yeah, here it is. Hold on just a second. And it's in regards to the Minidoka County Senior Center. And they're playing bingo, G47, whatever. And they play bingo starting on, I believe it's going to start on February 16th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And they say to bring your own snacks, drinks, and a white elephant gift. Okay, that opens the door for a lot of discussion. And all ages are welcome to come play free bingo at the Minidoka County Senior Center. Some of those folks really take that bingo seriously, let me tell you. What's cooking now? Let's see. Tomorrow on the program, I wanted to remind you that we're going to have Pacific Legal Foundation coming on the air. Frosty Woldridge is gone for a week. We're going to have a replacement for his segment at 9:06. Then, of course, Stotz Equipment Company is going to be on the air with Vic. And then at 10:06, we have Dr. History. And at 10:30 tomorrow on the program, we're going to have the lovely Maria Espinoza. She's been down on the border many, many times. She knows exactly what's going on or not going on or what should be going on. And she's going to be on the show tomorrow morning at 10:30, so don't miss that. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels at our main studio. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my. Thank you very much. It's time right now for our 2019 legislative update, sponsored by, and we thank these dear people, Handy Truck Line at 400 West 100 South of Paul, and they were established way back in 1928. And they provide transportation services to Idaho and the surrounding states with terminals in Pocatello, Meridian, and Salt Lake City, Utah. And they're in their 90th year of serving the Northwest. Thank you, Handy Truck Line. And, you know, I want to thank Christine Handy for sending a lot of these historical quotes and quotables, especially one that I think fits this morning as we get into our conversation. Thomas Paine, influential 18th century writer of essays and pamphlets, said it the best: "These are the times that try men's souls." How true. And we say a good morning to a dear friend of this program, Representative Fred Wood. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I am great, and I think to start off this morning, Fred, what I'd like to do is have you give us kind of a general feeling, a general synopsis of how the first couple of weeks of the legislative session are going. What's happening up there?
Well, first of all, Zeb, I think I'm busier this session than I've ever been. Got several irons in the fire. I think the general mood is good. So far, there haven't been any major disagreements. I think everybody's looking forward to working with the new governor and the new administration. So generally, the attitude here is come here, get our business done, and solve as many problems for the citizens as we can, and then get the heck out of here before we hurt somebody. I think we've started off on a good foot. So I can tell you what I'm working on. I've got 5 things, literally, and if we can accomplish all of those, I'll be in excellent shape. The first is the implementation of Proposition 2. If you remember correctly, the expansion Medicaid was Prop 2.
Right.
That passed statewide by 61%, and we need to get that implemented and funded. Second, one of the interim committees that I co-chaired was campaign finance reform. We do have 2 bills now that Senator Lodge is going to introduce on the Senate side here in the next few days, and we'll see if we can't start cleaning up some of the issues associated and the lax reporting requirements that we have in Idaho. There's an ever-increasing problem with elk depredation down on the southern front there between the Snake River and the Utah-Nevada borders, particularly in all of the agricultural ground that lies next to the public ground there. There's some real issues coming, and it's not getting any better. So we're working on a problem to try to bring some significant help in a long-term basis there. The fourth thing is we're taking an overall look at overhauling the state employee group insurance program for health insurance. The cost of that's rising too rapidly, Zeb, and we've got to have a change in that program. And then the last one is the opioid crisis. It's still going full bore. I've got a little bill that I'm fixing that we introduced a couple of years ago and passed a couple of years ago, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit. There's a little problem with that, found out by the Department of Pharmacy, or Board of Pharmacy. So those are the 5 things I'm working on. So which one do you want to talk about?
Well, I think first...
Or anything else that I'm not working on that you've heard about, but...
Well, I tell you what, Fred, I really appreciate the fact that you are so diligent and have been so easy to get on this program and discuss the issues, etc. But the number one thing I think a lot of people want to talk about, find out more about, is it's been a very divisive issue in some regards, and that's the implementation of Proposition 2 after it was passed in November with the vote. And I can't even imagine where you go as finding the start button to go down around the Monopoly board on how to get this thing all put together. It can't be that easy.
Zeb, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of state statutes that are just involved with county indigent health care. Constitutionally and by statute, counties are responsible for taking care of the indigent population in each county. It's not really the state, it's the county. And that, to even start to figure out how you're going to implement a state federal partnership program that overlays that and then takes some of that responsibility, you look at that and you do wonder where to start. But I've been working on it for a couple of years, and so I do know where to start. And there's 2 things that we're doing. First of all, Speaker Bedke, every Tuesday morning at 7:30, has a chairman and vice chairman's meeting where he and leadership meets with all of the committee chairman and the committee vice chairman. And so tomorrow morning, for an hour, that is my meeting, and I will, the first section is to bring all of the senior members of the caucus up to speed on how we're going to finance this. We're already spending significantly more money than it would cost to implement full expansion of Medicaid, and we're not getting anything for it, to be perfectly honest with you. Or we're getting very little for it, to be perfectly honest with you. So then next week or the week after, depending upon his priorities, we'll have the so-called sideboard bill. And you and I discussed this when we were talking about Proposition 2 before it went on the general election ballot, if you remember correctly, last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of work requirements to have on the bill.
Right.
To make absolutely sure that if the U.S. Supreme Court overturns the Affordable Care Act, that we're out of there, the legislature can immediately withdraw, that if Congress ever lowers the funding below the 90% level that they promised in statute that they would always do, that the program will end, that if other funding requirements are put on it that the state doesn't know about now, that we can leave. Also, to make sure that we can get whatever waivers that the federal government is going to grant other states, that we also get those to put on our program. Typically, those waivers are elements of the program that will help save money. Those are the things that we're doing right now. So it's a work in progress and a lot of work in progress, but we're making good progress, Zeb. So I'm optimistic.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm going to sound really naive, and so please bear with me because you have the knowledge and I don't. I would imagine that you have a committee or groups of persons that get together and basically create a kind of a quarterback playbook as to how to make this implementation work. Do you look at it on a county-by-county basis? Do you look at the people that are in need? How do you go about making the discerning about where the money's going to come from, who's going to get some of the coverage? I mean, I'm asking a lot of naive questions, but I don't know.
Okay, so in terms of the people who are going to be qualified for this, that is all federally regulated, and that is in federal statute right now. So we don't have any say on that. If you remember correctly, the federal government, first of all, no state has to have a medical or a Medicaid program, but all states do have some kind of a Medicaid program. The federal government says that if, in fact, you're going to have a Medicaid program and you want federal dollars associated with it, then there are three populations that you absolutely have to take care of. You have to take care of the disabled. And we're talking about pretty significantly disabled people, not minimally disabled people. You have to take care of all children from the time they're born until they turn 18 years of age, and you have to take care of pregnant women, all of them. So all of those populations have to be and are currently covered by our Medicaid program. Idaho doesn't cover anybody else. And who is anybody else? Well, typically, they're able-bodied adults from the time they turn 18 years old until they turn 65 years old and are eligible for Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
So-called able-bodied adults. And the expansion would cover anybody from 0 to 138% of the federal poverty level in that category from 18 to 64. That's a federal law. We don't have anything to say about that. Now, how we fund it, or at least our share of it, we have everything to say about it. And the feds don't have anything to say about that. What's really interesting is we have a catastrophic health care program now that, Zeb, between the state and the counties, is costing us nearly $50 million.
Wow.
And for that, we're only treating about 4,000 people with no prevention and a very inefficient program. So we're actually spending more money right now than the state's 10% share.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do is figure out how we collectively gather up all that money and then pay for a program that actually takes care of a whole bunch more people.
When you
think about 91,000,
I'm going to take that call, and then I have a question of my own right there at that juncture. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead with Representative Fred Wood.
Yes, Zeb. I'm wondering what are we doing to make it so that illegal aliens cannot take advantage of our welfare system in the state of Idaho. I don't think they should get any kind of help at all for anything, any reason, if they're here illegal. That means they're a criminal to start with, and they do not deserve it. And I think we need to work on clearing it out where it cannot happen here.
I agree, and I'll have Representative Wood answer you on the air. Fred, if you would, please.
Well, I agree, too. And with respect to the Medicaid program, illegal or undocumented aliens are not eligible for Medicare, okay? I mean, they can't get on Medicare and get benefits from traditional Medicare. Now, there is such a thing that is called emergency Medicaid. We're talking Medicaid, and I make the same mistake that a lot of people do. Medicaid, called emergency Medicaid. This is a federal law. It's not a law that the states have anything to do with, and it was put in 1991 after the COBRA legislation was passed in 1986. and that is that if undocumented aliens show up in the emergency department and they have a certain small set of diagnoses where their life is in immediate danger, they can be treated for stabilizing treatment only, and then after that, no funding is available. So after that, the hospitals just have to eat it.
Right.
So there is that. But that's all federally regulated, and the states don't have anything to do with that. But I agree with the caller and you, Zip.
Fred, let me ask you this. You know, I got to admit that there's so much I don't understand about Prop 2 and the passing of it. And the one question that I've had, and I know you can help me, here you are, you're trying to figure out about the implementation of how to get the funding and everything to cover the people. But what do you do about not having a cap on the numbers of people? In other words, is there something as a kind of a parachute to help the state of Idaho with maybe more people moving in and the numbers increasing and the problem getting worse and exacerbated? Am I on the wrong track here, or does it need to have some kind of a cap?
Unfortunately, whether you're talking about the expansion population or you're talking about the old population of people who are already on it, those three subsets of patients that I talked about, pregnant women, children, and the disabled.
Right.
Federal law absolutely doesn't allow any caps, period. I mean, if a bunch of disabled people moved into the state tomorrow, you have to cover them. If more pregnant women show up here, you have to cover them. Every child that's born, you have to cover them, and every kid that moves into the state, you have to cover them. Every state has to do that, and we're no exception. And that's all federal law, Zeb. States can't do anything about that, and nor can we in the expansion population.
But what do you do, Fred, as far as trying to figure out a budget for it? I mean, you must be tearing your hair out at night trying to figure, do you allow a 10% slippage, 15, 20%? I mean, how do you derive at a budget finalization knowing that those numbers are going to inflate?
Well, that's one of the things that we have with a budgetary problem, not only on the Medicaid program, but look at schools.
Yeah.
We're the fastest growing state in the United States, or have been for the past couple of years, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So if you have, let's say, just for easy figuring, 100 new classroom units that move into the state of Idaho in the next year, then you know what? You've got to increase funding for schools by 100 classroom units next year. And actually, that's actually taking more money than Medicaid is, to be perfectly honest with you, in terms of the amount of people that are coming in, because we're a pretty young state, and we got a lot of kids, and they don't appear to be getting any less. So that's a budgetary problem in all programs. The good thing about it is, with respect to what we're currently spending versus what the needs are going to be for the foreseeable future, if our actuaries are okay, we got a pretty significant oversupply, right? I mean, we've got plenty of leeway in the budget to accommodate that.
Fred, I think in time constraints on the program, I've got roughly about 3 minutes left, and I looked at this list, and I think really a lot of the folks in this area are very concerned about the elk degradation that's going on in this area. Quickly bring us up to speed as to what's being done, and is there a solution to the problem?
Well, what we're trying to do right now is, if you remember correctly, House Bill 230 a couple of years ago significantly increased fees on some tags and licenses, and then was specifically put into a depredation program. Now, what we did is we very narrowly defined the damages that that would cover. We wanted to make sure that we had enough money in there to pay for those claims. Out of the Magic Valley this year alone, there's $1 million in claims pending.
Wow.
Okay, that's a lot. But there are a couple of things that we specifically talked about, such as irrigation equipment, such as destruction of fall seed beds, etc., that we didn't put in there because we didn't want that to be a budget buster. Well, I think there's enough room in there now to add back a couple of those things. There's not enough, unfortunately, to add back some of the things that we would like to put in there, but at this point in time are going to cost too much, such as fencing, etc. Now, that's the short-term fix. The long-term fix, though, is to figure out a whole better mechanism of keeping elk further away from the agricultural ground, but two, a different mechanism for reimbursing agriculture and the agricultural interest for actually feeding our livestock. Because some of the agricultural interest and some of the farmers and ranchers, I mean, they feed them 9 months out of the year.
Right.
And that's a heck of a food bill. You know, those are big animals. And so we've got to figure out a long-term solution to how we're going to, in effect, make agriculture whole for what they're doing to help with the wildlife populations. Because we have to have agriculture like wildlife and want wildlife to be around. And they're just going to have to make that, wildlife is going to have to be of a benefit to them financially to do that.
Well, Fred, I wished I had more time. I'm out of time on this portion of Idaho Legislative Update with Representative Fred Wood. Fred, I really appreciate your time and the effort on these issues, and I can't wait to have you back to talk more about these. But we thank you and wish you well up at the session for this year.
Thanks, Zeb. God bless, and talk to you in a week or two.
I'll look forward to it. Representative Fred Wood, there is one of the straight shooters, and we really appreciate all that he does. And, of course, the Idaho Legislative Update brought to you by our friends at Handy Truckline, an efficient, safe, and dependable service provider that has grown through the generations to serve you. Absolutely. They're determined to create better business logistics to decrease costs, and high energy prices, and will become a critical part of your team. They believe in efficiency, and we thank them very much for being a part of our legislative update for 2019. Handy Truck Lines over in Paul, 438-5071. Thank you very much, too, to Representative Fred Wood. Excellent job on the program this morning. Woo! Oh, my goodness, we've got to get a weather forecast on here right this very minute, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Oh, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats, whether it's the marinated pork ribs or whether it's the tri-tips, the prime ribs, the brats, the breakfast sausage. Oh, by the way, Don's going to be cooking, I understand, at Agra Action at the Expo Center on the 31st and February 1st and 2nd. He's going to be cooking up brats and jerky and sausage. Woo! I'm telling you what, Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this Martin Luther King Day Monday, and we are expecting a 40% chance of snow showers. Mostly cloudy skies, plus it's going to be windy out there. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 36. Tonight, hopefully everything will be calming down. Partly cloudy skies. Going to get cold, only a low of 19. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 32. Mostly cloudy and 26 for Thursday night. Then by Wednesday, another slight chance of snow showers. Winds are going to be picking up again, and we are expecting a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
I want to keep it in the 40s or maybe even the low 50s for the rest of the winter, please. Put that on my order, Gina. Thank you very much. Weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road in Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. I got to get Don over here. Bring the brats, Don. And don't forget, you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrow's Meats. Wow, what a program, what a great way to start the week. We've got a full plate every day this week, including, again, I want to remind you, Thursday, we're going to have Lunch Bunch. I'm going to be scooting out of here early on Thursday to get down to Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and it's going to be Zeb's Lunch Bunch this Thursday. Don't you miss it. Again, our thanks for all the gift certificates, Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's. Thank you very much. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and tread designs for whatever the road throws at you. The mud, the snow, the yuck, the muck, everything. Get you through and drive safely. Stop in and see them today. Any one of the 7 locations, bit my tongue and it hurts. 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with also the best of brake service and front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this, but above all, service. Get you in there, get you fixed up, and get you back on the road. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin Falls, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Yes, sirree, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Monday's kind of a hard day to get back in the groove again, but we've had an excellent day. Wheels did a great job over at our studio, and I understand that him and his mom, they're going to be at Lunch Bunch this Thursday. Boy, it's going to be a lot of fun. We urge you to put that on the calendar and try to join us. We just get together, just a great big group of people, sometimes 50, 60, 70 people, and enjoy the great food and stories and laughter and just have a good time. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Right here on Zeb at the Ranch, and of course where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.